So I wanted to talk a little bit today about Gay is the New Black. It is an anthem, a slogan, a way of being, thinking about civil rights that has come to the fore since before the 90s when the Advocate magazine put on their cover is Gay the New Black. And at that time in the 90s, many people were insulted by the claim that a group of people who were seen to be represented by mainstream white people could claim blackness. And so sickening about it is that oftentimes people would say things like, not only the moral degeneracy that they try to equate with gayness, but also the idea that you can choose to be in the closet about your sexuality, but you can't about your race. And it's so sickening. I say sickening, obviously, a moral judgment that I have for three important reasons. One, not all gay people are white. Um, and so to assume that gayness and blackness are somehow in competition and forgets the overlaps. I'm standing here as a gay black person, one such obvious overlap, but it's not as if there hadn't been many visible. I mean, you could just go on from the days of Bayard Rustin and before till, Shirley Chisholm, Audre Lorde. I mean, you can go on and on and on. So there's that. But then the other part of it is, what does it feel like to be black? And because I am black and gay, I can say that those feelings are very similar, that there's a lot of overlap. So when you look at what it feels like to have, a national referendum on should you be allowed to exist, I know what that feels like as a gay person and as a black person. When you have people talking publicly about your degeneracy, and they're sitting, toe to toe at some, tied up, suited up news channel talking about, well, they're degenerate and God says this and God says that. On the other side, and they're supposedly debating people who are gay and for gay rights as if the two are kind of moral equivalents. Well, this is their side and this is your side, and that's false because when we're talking about rights and people's right to exist, we're not talking about what you feel about it. We're talking about what we as a society do about it. How we individually feel about it becomes less material when we know that people are being denied, actively denied. And I think to deny someone rights is it's awful. It's awful. That itself is ugly. We talk about slavery. It's not just that blacks were oppressed. It's that what kind of oppressive system must whites endure to become the oppressor? You have to become an oppressor. You're not just born an oppressor. What kind of injustice did the whites face when they had to go to a whites only counter, a whites only water fountain, and to see that theirs was cleaner, better than so-called other people? What does it mean to be taught that you inherit the earth? And just a quick note on that, I was just listening to a woman, a journalist, who received a letter in 1961 from her Harvard professor. She was applying there, and he said, you should think about your family duties, and is it right for you to apply to this program? So she eventually didn't even apply to the program, went on to have a stunning career as a journalist, and 50 years later wrote a response to that letter where she said, of course everyone should be asked, what about your family responsibilities? Not just that women should be asked. So we talk about Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, their race, So people might ask Hillary, why don't you look pretty, and why don't you, what about, your family, family, family? Well, Barack Obama, he acted real black and real gay in that, and he said, you know what? I'm even going to ask her. I'm going to stand up and talk about myself as a father, and talk about other people as a father. So having to come to terms with your different sorts of social identities characterizes the black experience, but it also characterizes the gay experience. To have to come to terms with, you may even see, experience, touch, smell life totally differently than your parents, just because um, generations progress so quickly when it comes to acknowledging us, that we live a totally different reality. That's one thing. So this woman is, able to write a letter 50 years later, and her nieces and daughters and perhaps even granddaughters can look at it and say, "Oh my gosh, look how far we've come. I didn't know it was such a struggle." And it's important to see it in a historical context, and this links back to blackness and gayness, because if we don't know where we've been, we don't know where we're going. We don't understand how it is we have come to be where we are, even to understand where we should go next. So without understanding that, for example, civil rights was never about black rights only. It was always about civil rights, as it says. It's not, about that, black people, only black people should be able to vote alongside white people, but it says that there should be no kind of discrimination and that we have to work to erase the centuries of oppression that have existed and benefited white people disproportionately and males disproportionately and wealthier people disproportionately in our societies. That amounts to a social crime that requires redress. Um, and so, yeah, we are going to have to redress, in a sense, what the society has done to gay people. We're going to have to make amends for the horrible things that communities have said to individuals, the way the churches have excluded people. And I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about people really having an open public dialogue about it. And as gay people, and as a black gay person, I can say that makes us stronger. The fact that we can talk about these things makes us stronger. It doesn't make us weaker. Gay is the new black.